Hello and welcome to the City of Alameda's COVID-19 Small Business Relief Grant Program Q&A session. We had some technical difficulties with the original recording and we lost the first few minutes of Lois's presentation. So we are re-recording that for you all now, and then we are going to tack on the original recording at the end, which includes a full Q&A session. With that, I will hand it over to Lois Butler, the Economic Development Manager for the City of Alameda.
Thank you, Amanda Gerke. I'm Lois Butler, as she indicated. This is the COVID-19 Small Business Relief Grant Program. Our agenda for today are the guidelines. If you would, please enter your questions in the chat box. I will demonstrate the form, and then we'll have question and answers. Guidelines. Applications are accepted through 11:59 p.m. on Thursday, May the 7th. And this is a computer-generated program, and so the cutoff will be exactly 11:59 p.m. So I would suggest that you finish your application well before that. Businesses can receive a one-time grant of $7,500. And there will be a total of 67 grants available for all of Alameda except Alameda Point. 13 grants will be available to Alameda Point, and this is due to funding restrictions at Alameda Point. The total grants available will be 80 for a total of $600,000. Requirements for eligibility. Small businesses with 1 to 25 employees or employee equivalent can apply, as well as restaurants with no limit to the number of employees. And let me just give you an example. If a business has 5 full-time employees and say 6 employees, and those part-time employees equal 50% time, those 6 employees would equal 3, plus that would be 8 employees. So if you had, say, 12 full-time employees and 24 part-time employees that worked 50% of the time, that would be 24 employees when you add up the 12 and then you break the 24 down into part-time, they would equal 12 employees. 12 and 12 is 24. All right, so you also must have a physical establishment in Alameda, and you must show a significant loss of 20% or more income from March 16th to the application date. And you must have a current business license, and if you are in a business improvement area, a BIA, you must pay your BIA up to date. And all of this was due last year. I think the bill was sent out on in June or July, and so you should be up to date because it would be passed now. And then ineligible businesses, I will run through them. They're financial institutions, banks, lenders, landlords, publicly traded companies, nonprofits, sole proprietors without employees, elected and appointed officials, city employees, and relatives of elected and appointed officials and city employees. All of these are not eligible. Guidelines and uses of funds and reporting. Funds can be used for expenses and or payroll. Please keep all of your receipts in case the city requests them. The city reserves the right to audit your records. And now we're going to demonstrate the form, but before that, I would like you, this is for ease of filling the application, to scan all the necessary documents, and I'll go through those later, and put them in one place, one folder, so that you can grab them quickly. And then what you would need to do once you go to the website, and I don't think I'll talk about that later, is you will need to create a username and a password. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Alameda website. It's alamedaca.gov/COVID-19 grants. Thank you. And now we are going to go to the rest of the report that was previously recorded. So what I want to do is I want to get to the application. Can everyone see my Google screen? Okay, great. Thank you. So I have typed in Alameda COVID-19 grants. That's just a shortcut. You can just go to the city site and you can click on this red bar and then click again and then get to where it says for businesses, and then you would be able to get there. But I think the easiest way to get there is to say alamedaca.gov/COVID-19 grants. And if I could have somebody put that in the chat, either Amanda or Eric put that in the chat. That's alamedaca.gov/COVID-19 grants. No hyphen. I would appreciate it. So that gets you to this page here. And on this page are the guidelines for the grant, and then the guidelines will also be shown again in the guidelines will also be shown again. Okay, so I think I got ahead of myself. So what I will do, sorry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go through the guidelines on the screen. I have those in other places. So what you must have ready is proof that you have applied for another grant. Or a loan from the federal government or the state government. You need to have 6 months of income from October the 1st through March the 1st. You need to have revenues from March 19th and revenues from March 2020. Expenses from March of 19 and expenses from March of 2020. And then you have to have payroll prior to March the 17th. Now, we didn't specify how far that should go back here. We may have specified it later on, so I'll double check that and then comment on that. And then you have to have a W-9 form, and then if you have it available, we'd like you to upload your business license. So all those things I would recommend would be in a folder. So now I'm going to go to the actual site and show you what it looks like. So this is what it looks like when you get to the site, and then it's going to say apply here. This is when the password will be required. And for me, I'm already signed in, so the password's not required. So you guys have to create a username and a password. And I believe your username is your email address, but it will give you instructions. So again, here are the guidelines again, just in case you don't remember them from the city's page. We've provided them on this page as well. It'll tell you again what you need in this area here. And then as you scroll down, it'll ask you to start entering your business name. So my business name was Butler, this is past tense, project management. And then my name is Lois Butler. And my daytime phone number is 510-747-6894. And then my secondary number is 510-747-6890. And my primary email address is econdev@alameda.gov for the purposes of the grant. And then my secondary email, I really would not like you guys to email me at my secondary email because I have people helping me with all of the emails. So if you could email me at this email address, econdev@alameda.ca.gov, I spelled that wrong, ca.gov, that would be great. And if someone could put that in the chat, that would be great. If you are an equal owner of your business, we'd like to have the information for your partner, or if you have another partner that has, I would say more than 20% ownership, if you could put the name of that partner down. But if you're the primary one, over 50%, that's what's required. Okay, and then your establishment address, unfortunately, I couldn't get this off of this form. So you do have to put in United States, and you can type that in. You can type in United States, United, and then you can come down to United States. You have to put that in. Put your address in. It has to be in the city of Alameda for you to qualify for this. If you're not in the city of Alameda, if you're like in Hayward or someplace else and you thought this was for Alameda County, this is not for Alameda County. It's only for the city of Alameda. So you need to make sure that you have an Alameda address. And then if you have a different mailing address, you would put your different mailing address here, and that would be where we would provide checks. And one of the things that I realized I didn't provide that I will provide to all of the recipients is a form that you would be able to download so that the money goes directly into your account. So once we know who you are, we'll send you a notification with a form, and would appreciate if you would fill out that form. That way you would get your check within 30 days. Now here we want to find out what type of business you are. So you would pick one of the two of these. If you are a financial institution or a bank, you would not be able to qualify. So just know that. It will let you continue to fill out the form, but it'll pop up as you're ineligible or sole proprietor without employees. And then we'd like you to select what best fits your company. If you are in one of these industries, or you can select other. If you select other, a couple of cells down, it'll ask you for your business type right here. We're also asking again if you are a brick and mortar. And if you say no, yeah, it'll pop up that you're ineligible. And there's the message right there. Okay, so if I say yes, you just continue to move on and put the type of business that you are. And then we ask you if you plan to close in 6 months. And if you say yes, it'll ask you to go on. If you say no, then I'm not sure if there's a pop-up here. I don't think there's a pop-up. It's just a question. And then we ask you another question. Is your business closed? You might say yes, and then you might say no. If you say no, it just asks you to continue on. If you say yes, then there's going to be a pop-up that asks you, are you planning to reopen your business when the shelter in place is lifted? If you say yes, it'll just have you move on. Actually, either way, I don't know why it's popping up, but either way, it looks like the cell is popping up. So please provide an explanation, even if it's NA, if this cell here pops up, okay? And then we want to find out where you're located on the island, either Bayfront Island or Alameda, the main island. If you could provide that information, and everything should be covered. If you're on Bay Farm Island, then you can select either Bay Farm or Harbor Bay Shopping Center. If you are on the main island, then you can select any of these businesses or areas, excuse me, Park Street Business Improvement Area, or Webster Street Business Improvement Area, or one of these. If you don't know where you are, just select whether you're east of Grand or west of Grand. If you're not sure you're in the BIA, just select east of Grand and west of Grand. And we'll go ahead and verify it if you're close to the business improvement area, because we're verifying whether you paid your assessments or not. And then here is where you would say whether you have a current copy of your business tax form. If you don't have a current copy of your business tax license or your business tax certificate, please do not contact finance and ask for it. We have a list of all the businesses that have licenses, and we will go in and check those licenses if you don't have it. We would appreciate it if you would upload it if you do have it, and you would upload it by saying yes, and then you could see here where I chose to upload this form, and I'll upload it again as a demonstration. So if I come here, and you can see I have a sample form here, and I uploaded my business license. So I have provided up to 6, no, I have 5 more chances to upload that business license. And the reason we gave you so many chances to upload a file is because some of you guys will have to take pictures on your phone. And so you can take pictures on your phone, and then you can upload those pictures here, okay? Again, proof that your company has applied for federal assistance. This here could be I contacted a couple of banks to find out what that proof is. For some, it's just, you have a copy of your application. For others, you get a letter from them saying that your loan or your paycheck protection program application is in work. So you would upload your proof. And if you've applied at different places, you can upload more than one, up to 18 files. Then your 6-month income statement. I don't know how long your 6-month income statement is. For some, they might have an income statement for every month. For others, they may just have one statement that they've consolidated, so that should be uploaded. Your revenues for March, if you're a new business and you were in business the month of February, instead of March 2019, you could put February 2019, your income from that month if you opened in February. If you opened in March, I don't have a solution for you because we won't be able to compare your 20% loss. So for March 2019 revenues, you can upload those, or you can upload February 2020 revenues for revenue. And then we want March of 20 revenues. So I'm going to upload my, I have 2019, and so I'm going to upload those. And now I need to upload my revenues, so I'm going to upload my my March revenues. Here we go here. And then again, I need expenses for March of 2019. So I'm going to upload those. And then revenues for March of 2020. And you can also, if you only have February expenses available, then you can upload your February 2020 expenses, okay? Now, what I'm doing is I'm double clicking, but you can also just hit open on your, if you have a Windows program to upload them. Okay, yeah. Moving down to the last one, I'm gonna open up and upload my, my 6-month income statement. So it's as simple as that, and you can see that I did this before. So I check this box here, and then I type my name here. And when you type your name, this is you saying that you're signing this electronically. So this is as if you have signed your signature. And then you can, at this point, save the draft, or you can apply. And because this is not a real application, I'm not gonna apply, I just saved my draft, okay? So that's the simple demonstration of how to fill out the application. And I am gonna go back to my PowerPoint, so I'm gonna stop sharing. And I'm gonna share again. And we're at question and answers at this point. So what we're going to do is have Amanda read questions to me, and then I will answer the questions.
Here's the first question. I have applied for EIDL, PPP, EDD, but have not been granted funding or been notified if I qualify for funding. How can I provide proof for element number 1 that we are not eligible for other funding?
I believe it says that you have to, you just have to provide proof that that you have applied for funding, or proof that you're not eligible is what it says. So if you just show that you've applied for funding, that should satisfy that requirement.
Having received a Paycheck Protection Program loan disqualify us or make us less likely to get an Alameda grant?
It doesn't disqualify you. It just you just need to show that you have applied or you received it.
What are the odds of getting this grant?
So right now, I believe last time I looked, there were over 100, I think something like 128 people had applied. So you can, I don't know how many of those were at Alameda Point. So say none of them were at Alameda Point, and you take 67. Right now, you have more than a 50% chance of getting a grant. In 9 days or 8 days, I don't know what your chances will be.
This is a question about the question on the application on, is your business closed? So for this business, it looks like their physical location is closed, but they are operating minimally online. Will that affect their chances of being eligible?
We're looking at the question of, is your business closed or not, and whether you're planning to open or not. If you're planning to open your business, or if you're closed, the reason why you're closed and will remain closed, it doesn't necessarily disqualify you.
So the next question is, do we count as employees even if we don't pull a salary?
Does a person, I don't understand, could you say that again? You broke up.
Do we count as employees even if we don't pull a salary?
So if you're a sole proprietor, you are not an employee, you are a sole proprietor. You have to have employees that get a W-2 form and not a 1099 form to have an employee.
So the next one is also a question about employees. Are you using 30 hours per week as full-time equivalent?
Whatever the law says is what we'll use. But generally speaking, if you are a business that your full-time employees are 40 hours a week, and you divide that by 2, 50% of 40 would be 20. If I believe it's 32, and I will look that up, but if your full-time employees work 32 hours, then a part-time employee of 15 hours, that would be 16 hours, that would be half of that.
Will some of the grants be less than $7,500 so they can be given to more businesses?
No.
Is a nonprofit 501c7 corp with employees eligible to apply for the grant?
Nonprofits are not eligible for this grant.
How about self-employed?
Self-employed if you have employees. So you would need to have employees, 1 to 25 employees.
How can we check to make sure our business license is up to date?
You don't need to do that. We will do that.
Could you explain what a BIA is?
BIA is a business improvement area which we have in Alameda. If you are in a BIA, you should know it because you pay a fee to be in that BIA. And you pay that fee as part of your business license tax. You get notified from us every year that we are going to renew the BIA, and you can protest that. That's coming up shortly. So most people who are in the business improvement area, they're along in the Park Street and Webster Street corridors. They know that they are in those areas.
So the application asks for income statements from March 2019 and March 2020. I own a medical practice on Park Street, and much of our income is from health insurance. So our accounts receivable are usually delayed 30 days. My income from March 2020 is a reflection of our business from February 2020 before the shelter in place. Can I submit income statements from April instead?
That's a good question. I would say that because we're the city and we have guidelines, I really need you to submit them for the period up to March. With your income statement, you can put in an explanation and also put in the April one, but put it in with that upload, and we will review it, but more than likely it will just be the guidelines.
In addition to providing all the required information, can you share what criteria or the process for determining who is funded or how the grant awards are determined?
Yes. So we will be looking at the 20% requirement and making sure that businesses are up to date on their business license, and if they are in a business improvement district, the assessment, making sure they're brick and mortar, that the number of employees that they say they have or don't have actually are true. And then the other things that we have in the guidelines, if they meet all the threshold questions, then they will be put in a lottery, and the lottery will be selected. And we'll select the people that will get the grant. We find that there's going to be a huge need here, and we wanted it to be fair. And so the only fair way that we see is to make sure that people who meet the criteria are have equal footing.
So there are a few questions and comments about the sole proprietors not being eligible and why they're not eligible. I just wonder if you could talk a little bit more about that and address some of those concerns.
So when we were putting this program together, one part of the feedback was to make sure that we were helping as many employees as possible. And at the same time, we were asked to also look at developing another grant program. And so with this program, it was decided that sole proprietors wouldn't be eligible because of the amount of sole proprietors in the city, and the fact that the people with employees have more expenses. Also, at the time that this program was developed, PPP had indicated that you could apply also, and unemployment was also going to be available to sole proprietors. I should say self-employed. as opposed to sole proprietors. So it's, you know, there are a lot of people that need to be served, and unfortunately, we had to make a choice, and we made the choice to help the businesses at this point with employees, and in the next round of grants, which there will be some discussion at the next council meeting on the next round of grants, and also at the May 19th meeting, we will be recommending that sole proprietors be allowed to apply for those grants.
One other resource for sole proprietors that is open right now is pandemic unemployment assistance, which is a state program that's providing unemployment insurance for independent contractors, sole proprietors, and gig workers. So we can put a link to that in the chat as well.
Thank you, Amanda. I thought so, but when I was saying it, I started getting fuzzy on that, so I appreciate you clarifying that.
So this is a question another question about showing loss in revenues. If we didn't show the 20% drop in March, but did show an 80% decrease in April, should we include those numbers?
You should, because what we have said is through the end of the year.
If you applied for and were granted a PPP loan, are you still eligible to apply for this grant? Would that be considered in your determination to award a grant?
No, we're looking at the 20% as a part of that eligibility. We're not looking at whether you got the PPP or not.
Okay. There's a question here about, is there a way to count, hold on. There's a point here about that some sole proprietorships have multiple family members who work in a business. So there's a question is about, can family members count as employees?
That I would have to take back to the city attorney's office. So let me do that. Do you pay these family members on a W-2 form?
Just seeing if we're getting an answer to that. I'm doing some scrolling right now. No, they do an owner draw. So the question is can the owner draw count as?
Yeah, I don't think so if it's a sole proprietorship with no employees.
Okay.
But I will check on that, and we will post the the answers to questions on our website.
And then there's a similar question to the question with doctors about, it looks like memberships for membership organizations where memberships get billed on the first of the month. So there's a delay in the appearance of the reduction in revenue. Should they also be submitting information for April?
Sure. And we'll have to look at the way it's presented. I don't think I understand completely the issue, and so we will have assistance from an expert on that one. So go ahead and as I said, separate it out. Say this is, put an explanation in there when you upload that information.
So a question about how much is the interest rate?
This is a grant?
I just think we have to clarify, this is a grant program, not a loan program. So you do not need to repay it. There's no interest rate. Is this first come, first served, or will all applications be considered together after the deadline?
All applications will be considered together. And if you meet the thresholds, then you will be put in the lottery.
And then here's another question, which is a little similar to ones that we've had, but I think there's a question about whether having received or been disqualified from a paycheck protection loan have any impact on eligibility.
No. Just show that you've applied.
And then there's a number of questions about the proof that we've applied for other grants. There's a few, there's people who are noting that they don't always get a letter saying that they've applied, or that there's been very little communication from the federal government on that front. So how, what are different types of proof that we could take, and kind of how open are we to different forms?
Normally, I would say that you can always provide an affidavit indicating that you've applied. And so right now, we don't want people to have to go out and because it's shelter in place. So you need to self-certify that you've applied for these programs. And then if you happen to get selected for an audit, at that point, you will need to provide that evidence, because the federal government will have declined you or accepted you by then. So you can put in there that I self-certify that I have applied for this grant and applied for other grants or loans, and indicate what those are. And then if you're selected for an audit, then you will have to provide that information.
So there's a question about what kind of proof do we need about the amount of payroll or the number of employees?
So you would need to show us your payroll records.
What documents would be accepted for proof of income?
So you should have, well, it depends on how you run your business, but you should have regular income statements showing what you're making, or you should have bookkeeping records where you could take pictures of those bookkeeping records. So depending on how you run your business, you need to try to provide records showing your income to us.
And is that the same for expenses?
That's the same for expenses. There should be some type of record keeping that will allow you to show us what you make. You have to have information available for banks if you want loans. So those types of records would be sufficient for us as well. One thing that I need to go back and say before people drop off is that anything you provide the city is subject to the Public Information Request Records Act. So I want to point that out with people. And I don't think that I had mentioned it before, so I wanted to point that out. And then one other thing that I want to point out is that the application needs to be 100% complete for you to qualify. So if you just upload a piece of paper just to get through the required documents, and an actual document isn't uploaded, if we come to that, then you will be automatically disqualified.
We have a question here about if they can use a PO box for establishment address.
For an establishment address, no. You have to have a brick and mortar location. You can use a mailing address if you don't want your mail to go there. You can use a whatever your business license address is. That's where your mail will go. and your check will go. So if you need to change that, then you need to go to the city and change that location, your mailing address.
Are internet-only businesses eligible?
No, that's not a brick and mortar location.
This is a question about, can I use a bank statement? But it doesn't say in reference to what. Miyoko, could you please just enter that question again at the bottom in terms of what you're referring to?
If you're suggesting that you use it for your income, but because that's how you track your income, you need to upload a piece of paper saying that I track my income by just depositing money into the bank. A lot of small businesses just deposit money into the bank, and that's how they track their income, which we will look at.
I just scrolled down to the bottom, and yes, I think she was referring to proof of income. My QuickBooks program combines revenue and costs on one form. Can I upload just that form, or do you need separate forms?
You can upload that form twice, but you need to upload it in each location.
We do revenues and expenses in a spreadsheet. Is that acceptable?
Yes, you can do that. And if you happen to get selected for audit, then you would have to supply the backup information to that. But if it's one spreadsheet, then you need to upload it twice. You need to upload it under revenues and then under expenses.
Can proof of 6-month income include a 2019 W-3?
Yes, but you would have to explain, what part of your income is from October to December, through December. And then you would have to provide your income statement, well, your income so I believe we're only asking for income for March. So you would need to provide your March income and indicate what that is. We need some indication for that. Could you read that question again?
Can proof of 6-month income include a 2019 W-3? What kind of documents are acceptable?
Okay. So I'm not familiar with the W-3. Like I said, we're going to have assistance. So if the W-3 breaks out each month of income, then that would be fine.
Not clear how the 6-month income statement is payroll. Are you asking for just the total amount of payroll over 6 months, or the number of employees, or both?
Sorry, somebody was texting me. Are you guys able to hear me clearly? Okay, all right. Someone said there was a lot of noise in the background. That's why I'm asking. Would you repeat that question?
Hold on one second. Hold on, I lost my place and now I need to re-find it. So not clear how the 6-month income statement is payroll. Are you asking for just the total amount of payroll over 6 months, or the number of employees, or both?
So I'm asking for your payroll. I didn't specify how many months. I don't. So we just need to prove that you had folks on payroll. So, you can provide February payroll. You need to just prove that you had this amount of people on payroll. And then we need a 6-month income statement. And so your income statement, if you guys go to Google, it'll show you what a typical income statement is.
So some of us get paid with a 2-month delay, and showing income reflects nothing of what actually goes on day to day for the business. Will you accept invoices to compare the 2 years rather than the bank returns?
To compare, you say the two years? Yeah.
2 years.
Yes. So that you show an expense you get for the 2 periods of March, yes. As long as it's organized, if there's like 100 pages and we have to go through that, that becomes a problem. You should have some kind of bookkeeping system.
So did you say 1099 does or does not qualify as employees?
Does not.
So just to clarify then, a sole proprietor who pulls a draw instead of a salary does not count as having an employee?
Correct.
Question from someone who has an expired business license. Can they renew it ASAP and still qualify?
No, they don't qualify.
Okay, we just a couple comments about the sole proprietorship with no employees question, but I feel like you've addressed that. Is there anything else you would want to say about that, whether we would reconsider or?
No.
Who should we discuss the March only look at income reduction? It seems April is very reasonable to look at. They're wondering, is it possible to have April be looked at as well and not just March?
Well, what I said was you can include April because what our guidelines say is that that we will consider it up through today or when you apply for a grant. But we're specifically looking at March. I'm not saying that it won't be considered, but we're specifically looking at March.
What's the definition of small business?
The way we've defined it is that you have 1 to 25 employees. You're a restaurant. You're not a public entity. If you look at our guidelines, it's there. 1 to 25 employees, and you're a restaurant with, it doesn't define how many employees you have to have if you're a restaurant. And then if you fit the small business guidelines of small business. And most Alameda businesses will fit the guidelines. So unless you're a company making a whole lot of money, over 2.5 million or 5 million in some categories, then you would fit that category. I mean, you would fit small business. If your income is really, really high, then we'll go to your I forget the acronym. I think it's NAIS code to see what that is for your industry to determine whether you're a small business or not. So we would use the Small Business Administration guidelines for what a small business is.
Why is proof required that you applied for the PPP?
Because we want to help businesses that can help themselves.
And can you clarify that someone with several part-time employees can apply?
Yes. As I was saying, if you have part-time employees and you can have more than 25, we're looking at the equivalent of 25 full-time employees. So again, I'll use a different number than I used before. If you have 5 full-time employees, and then you have, say, 30 part-time employees that only work 50% of what a full-time employee works, then those 30 employees will be counted as 15 employees. Then you add the 5 full-time employees, and then you get 20 employees. So you can have a lot of employees that work part-time and you would still qualify, as long as when you add up all of the employees, they're equivalent to full-time employees, that it doesn't exceed the 25.
Can you share why restaurants are not included in this opportunity?
They are included. Well, let me just clarify that. Restaurants are included, and they could go over 25 because we have a lot of restaurants that have a number of part-time employees. And also we excluded 25 employees as the limit because it's really difficult sometimes to operate some of the restaurants without a lot of part-time employees. And so their numbers sometimes go up to 90 or more because of all the employees that it takes to run a restaurant, but they're still a small business. And the goal of this program is really to help businesses with employees.
Why was the choice made for it to be a lottery?
Why was the choice made to be a lottery?
Yeah, there's this question saying, wouldn't it make more sense to give grants to a wide variety of businesses in an intentional way?
Yeah, we expect that we're going to have a ton of applications, and for us to get through them in a reasonable amount of time, we wanted to make sure, and we decided to do a lottery because it would take us a lot to go through and really start parsing things out. We looked at, what if we give so many to this industry? What if we give so many to that industry? But you know, all of the industries at this point are having the same difficulty now. Most of the businesses had to close down, and a lot of businesses lost money, and it's hard to start justifying one against the other. We could say it's really important to keep this type of business versus this type of business. We had people coming up to us and saying, what about childcare? What about, what about, of course, restaurants? What about retail? What about landlords? Last round, it's really difficult because all of the businesses that are losing income right now are deserving, and so we're doing the best we can to try to be fair.
If we rent space at Phoenix for co-working, so that's their business address, are they qualified as a brick and mortar location?
Yes. If they have employees.
Here's just a question about next steps for the city. Could there be a next step about advocating for rent waivers of commercial space by private landlords?
You know, that's kind of off topic, and I haven't been working on here she is. You're on mute.
I am so sorry, everyone. I had an internet connection issue. I apologize for that.
I'm saying I don't know where you are with the questions, so.
Yes, and that just, now I can't see the questions from before I left. So Eric, I'm gonna unmute you. Are you able to view the previous questions?
Yeah. So I think I'm right where you left off. I've already submitted my application and I have additional information to upload. Is there a way to do that?
There is, and I don't know who said that, but a couple of people requested that they be able to edit dot hopefully you can give me your name of your application.
Another question is, income did not drop until the end of March, so there was not a 20% drop in March. But if we measure from March 15 to April 15, our income dropped by about 50%.
As I indicated, you need to go ahead and upload your information as is, and then if you would like to upload additional information and explain that with that particular upload under income, that would be great. So put it under the March category.
Let's see. So many family-owned businesses and mom-and-pop shops will not qualify because owners do not count as employees. Why do restaurants not have to have employees, but other businesses do?
We made the choice to make sure that we try to save the restaurants in Alameda, because Alameda's restaurants are part of what Alameda is known for.
Lois, just to clarify, restaurants do have to have employees, right?
Right.
No, they don't.
Oh.
The restaurants don't have an employee qualification.
Okay.
It says 25 for small businesses, and restaurants don't have to have one.
Small businesses have to have under 25 employees.
Sorry, yes, sorry.
Let's see. Another question, why not have 3 grant levels, 2,500, 5,000, and 7,500, and allocate grants based on level of taxes generated for the city of Alameda?
There were different ideas of what grant levels should be. The grant levels are currently set now. So Yeah, we had a lot of input on what the level should be and decided that it should be 7,500 to at least cover rent for some of the folks who are looking to get a grant. It could have been different numbers. You're correct.
Okay. When do you do the lottery?
After we've reviewed all of the applications.
Brick-and-mortar places. Let's see, some of these I think have been addressed. One person seems saying that the 20% is too low of an amount loss. These grants at businesses that are at real risk who have lost 50% or more income.
Well, the program is set now, so if you have that suggestion, I would advise you to submit it to the City Council for the meeting on the 19th. We use that number for some of the rent issues, and so we were consistent with this program.
Let's see, that was the same thing. Let's see if we can address the. How do you define brick and mortar? I offer professional services with a home occupation license and a business license.
Okay, so home occupation is not brick and mortar. Brick and mortar is a established place with a door on a. It has to have a business address and not a residence address. A residential address does not qualify.
Let's see. Will the list of awardees be made public?
Yes, that would be public information.
Thanks for doing this grant program so quickly. It seems you are implying that there may be future grant opportunities discussed at the May 19th council meeting. Can you tell us more?
So the City Council asked us they thought that the $600,000 wasn't enough funding for this program, and they asked us to look at other ways, both within our budget and outside of our budget, to increase the amount and to see if we could open it up to other type of businesses, including sole proprietor businesses. And so we are going to be taking an item back, recommending additional funding and additional ways to fund businesses with grants.
So I think you just answered this question. So grants for sole proprietors, there will be a grant for sole proprietors without employees?
That will be our recommendation. That will be our recommendation.
And then, so a home office is not qualified?
Not at this point. It doesn't mean that they won't qualify for the future grant. That'll have to be a discussion.
I think I've come to the end. Well, just a clarification, a home office with clients facing a major street. So.
No, it's not a major street. Home offices don't qualify.
Okay. So I've come to the end. Is there any more questions to be submitted through chat? I think that might be it, Lois.
Okay. Well, I know that I didn't provide everyone with news that they wanted to hear, but we appreciate all of the businesses here in Alameda, and we want to be supportive of all of the businesses here in Alameda. If you have suggestions for me for the next report, you can feel free to send them directly to me at lbutler@alamedaca.gov. If you have questions regarding this program, I ask you to please send them to the Econ Dev email that was posted, and I believe it's posted online as well. I know that a lot of you have concerns about being sole proprietors, and so if you can just send those emails to me directly, and the others sent to econdev@alamedaca.gov. My email address is lbutler@alamedaca.gov. And I thank you all for being here, and I really wish you the best with your business, and if there's anything that I can do for you that the Economic Development Group can do for you, we truly will try. Thank you.